But specifically working on this report, we were directed in early February by the White House to come up with a report that assesses different countries based on two things primarily. One is their adherence to, as Alex mentioned, international humanitarian law, which is the law that says there are wars, but there are rules in war. There's rules about the kind of weapons you can use, about making the distinction between civilians and combatants. And basically it's a body of laws that says even in war, there are ways that you have to mitigate the consequences for civilians and soldiers. So this report was looking at adherence to that body of law, as well as whether countries allow humanitarian assistance. There were several countries we were assessing, but the one, unsurprisingly, that generated the most debate was Israel. I was working on this report with many others. There were a handful of us who were very, very engaged in every sentence of that. But at some point, we were removed from that report, and it was moved up to a higher level to be written and edited and cleared. So even though I had worked on this pretty heavily since this directive from the White House came out in early February, I did not know what was in the report until it came out. That said, I was actually hopeful that it would be an honest report, because earlier that week, the White House had made an announcement that it was going to pause the 2,000-pound bombs that have really caused disproportionate destruction in Gaza. So they had announced a pause on that. And I was actually pretty hopeful that maybe this report was going to be honest. So when the report came out on May 10th, late in the day, I read it. And I had to reread it because I couldn't believe what it said. It said very clearly, it actually, so on those 2 points, I was surprised on the point about Israel's adherence to international humanitarian law. For the first time I'm aware of, we admitted in very, very weak terms, but we admitted that Israel is likely using U.S. weapons in violation of international humanitarian law. That it also went on to say that Israel, it is our assessment that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance. That is not the view of subject matter experts at the State Department, at USAID, nor among the humanitarian community, and that was known. That was absolutely known to the administration for a very long time, not just within the government, but having received reports and letters from organizations on the ground in Gaza, organizations the U.S. government funds, credible organizations saying Israel is blocking humanitarian assistance. It's a conflict. It's difficult. But these are professional organizations with expertise, local knowledge. They know how to work in conflicts. They know how to do the negotiations, to get the assistance to where it needs to be. They know how to do it. The issue is they are not being allowed to. And it's a range of issues. It's not just blocking trucks from going in, because we see over the course of this conflict, sometimes trucks go in, sometimes they're delayed, sometimes assistance goes in, but then it's ratcheted back. But we're seeing consistently through this a pattern of obstruction, famine. This is not hunger. Famine is a word that we are very, very cautious about using in the humanitarian sector. Words like famine and starvation are only used when very specific indicators have been met. So the fact that there is famine is extraordinary. That doesn't have to happen in a conflict, but it has happened here. And the remedy, when you've reached the stage of famine, the remedy is not more food. Absolutely more food is needed. But for people who are experiencing that extreme stage of malnutrition, that requires an immediate intensive medical intervention. And where are you going to find that in a country now where the hospitals have been destroyed? It's for the people who've reached that stage, it's too late. And any effort to bring in more food is absolutely necessary, but anything that comes in now it's too little too late. And the reason we've come to this point is because of Israel's obstruction.